We begin today the Gemara towards the bottom of Lamed Ches Amud Beis, 2 lines up from the bottom of the Yamud. The Gemara here brings different conversations that there was between the Tanoim, Amirayim, and various heretics and how they responded to their questions. So the Gemara here brings about a question that was asked to, I think it was Rabbi Shmuel, but Rabbi Yasi, and there was a launderer that gave a very good answer to his question. And he explained that from where did he know this answer? He heard it from the drasha of Rab Meir. So here the Gemara brings about Rab Meir when he would teach. How would he teach Torah? We stopped in the middle of the thing. So let's start again where it says the Amar Rab Yechanan, 2 lines from the bottom of the Yavah. The Amar Rab Yechanan said, Ki have a darish Rab Meir bepirkei. When Rab Meir would give his shir, have a darish tilsa shmaita. A third was the sugya, the halachas that they learned, tilsa agadata. A third was the expounding and the stories of Torah, and tilsa masli. And another third was parables. And then here the Gemara brings an example of the parables. Rab Yechanan gimel meis mishalis shulam hayalei Rab Meir. Rab Meir had 300 parables that was about a fox. Va'anu ein lanu ela shalish. And we only know 3 of those parables that he said. And the Gemara brings it that it's based on the pasuk, 3 different psukim. One pasuk says, "Avis yechlu baisa v'shini banim tikena." The fathers eat baisa, eat sour grapes, and the children's teeth are the one that are feeling weak. So even though the father ate, but the children's teeth are feeling weak. Another pasuk, "Moiznei tzedek, avnei tzedek," you should have just scales, just stones that are used to measure and weigh. Tzadik mitzara nechlatz. A third pasuk, the tzadik that is saved from his trouble, v'yavei rasha tachtov, and the rasha comes in his place. Those are 3 psukim that he explained, he connected to the mashal of a fox. What's this mashal of the fox? So Rashi he brings the mashal of the fox this is a mashal of a fox and a wolf. That the fox, with his slyness, tells the wolf that if you're going to go into the place where the Yidden live and you'll help them out to prepare their food for Shabbos, then they'll invite you to be able to join to eat with them for Shabbos. So the wolf goes and tries to join the Yidden, and he comes there, and the people see a wolf. They go out and they attack. They come out attacking the wolf to get rid of him. So the wolf comes back to the fox and says, "What did you tell me? That they're going to invite me? They're going to give me to eat? They attacked me." So he says, "No, don't." He wanted to go and now eat up the fox instead. So the fox says, "No, you're not understanding what happened. Your father also, he went and he was helping the Yidden, and then after he helped them, your father ate up all the food. So they're afraid that you're going to do the same. That's why they were attacking you. But really, otherwise, they would have invited you." So that's what the pasuk over here says, that the wolf says, because my father did what he did, that he ate up the food, therefore I'm being attacked by these Yidden. So he says, yeah, the pasuk says, obviously the father eats the grapes, and the children's teeth are the ones that are weak. So over here also, because of your father, therefore you're suffering. So then the wolf goes on and tells the fox that is goes on and tells the wolf, "Come with me and I'll show you where you can get food." So they go to this well of water, and there's over this well there's hanging these buckets. There's 2 buckets hanging over this well, and the fox goes into one of the buckets and he's way down into the well, and then he's inside the well. He tells the wolf, "You want to have food like me? You can come down here. Down over here, there's meat, there's cheese, there's a lot of food over here." And he makes it look like from the reflection of the light of the moon that you see that it's white and it looks like there's cheese and there is what to eat down there. So the wolf says, "How am I getting down there?" So he says, "Well, there's another bucket. Get into the other bucket and come down." So the wolf goes into the other bucket, and the wolf is heavier than the fox, and the wolf is way down all the way into the well, and he comes down there, the fox gets up and goes out, and the wolf is stuck inside. And that's what the pasuk is saying here, Moiznei tzedek, avnei tzedek, and then tzadik mitzara nechlatz v'yavei rasha tachtov, that he gets saved, the fox gets saved, and the wolf is stuck in the bottom over there. That's the mishalim that he gave from the foxes. Now, Rashi doesn't explain what's the significance of this mashal, what is this all about. The Marsha says that the point of this mashal is the shual is a mashal, the fox is the mashal for the tzaddik, the ze'ev, the wolf is the mashal for the rasha, and the idea of this mashal is that a wolf wants to get his schar in Olam Haba, but he can't get his schar in Olam Haba. He only gets whatever schar the Eibusher gives to a tzaddik is only in this world, and then in Olam Haba he goes into Gehenna.
Tzaddik?
The what?
Russia.
The Rasha. I said Tzaddik, I meant to say Rasha. Sorry. Yeah, the Rasha wants to get his char in Olam Haba, but he only gets it in Olam Haza. So the wolf wants to go and eat from the Shabbos Suda, which refers to Olam Haba, but he can't get his char from Olam Haba. And when he comes to Olam Haba, they run after him with sticks to get rid of him. And then where does he get his char? He can get his char over here in this world, but then eventually he goes into Gehenna, which is he gets stuck in that bucket, which is goes down into the well, and he gets stuck over there. That's what the mashal generally is about. There's more details to this. The Marsha adds more because he says that when you look in the Gemara, it looks like there's only two mishalim. The Gemara just said that there's three mishalim, but in the story there's only two phases to the story. The story where he was trying to get food from the Yidden on Shabbos, and the second part of the story about how he got stuck in the well. But there's a third detail to the story the Marsha explains. Okay, let's go back to the Gemara. Okay, here the Gemara is going to continue conversations from heretics and how the Tanoim answered. Okay, and so in our gears in the Gemara we have it Amalei Kaifer LeRab Gamliel. The heretics said to Rabbi Gamliel, but before they censored it out, it really is Amalei Kaiser, that the Caesar told Rabbi Gamliel, Alekechem Ganavu, your God is a thief. The pasuk says, Vayapel Hashem Alekim Tardeim Ala Adam. Vayishon, the Eibishter put Adam into a deep sleep, and then what did he do? He took away his side, and he gave him a wife, Chava. So he took it away from him without telling him. He stole. Amrale Brate, so Rabbi Gamliel's daughter said to him, Shafke, leave him, you don't have to answer him, I'll answer him. Amrale, she said to her father, Tunuli Duchas Echad, bring me a police.
This is the heretic's daughter.
The heretic's daughter said?
Yeah,
that's what it says there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the heretic's daughter said, allow me to answer. So she says, bring me a duchas, bring me a police or an officer. Why? What do you need an officer for? Amalei. So she says to her father, or rather, Amalei Lamalech, why do you need this officer? So she says, because listen, bo aleinu alayla, robbers came in the middle of the night, v'natlu mimenu kitan shel kesef. They stole a silver jug or a silver pitcher, and v'nichol on a kitan shel zav, and they replaced it with a gold pitcher. Amalah. So the father said to her, if that's what the Ganav did, let him be here every night and exchange silver for gold. So over here, the same thing, she answered and explained, so she said to him, so isn't this better for Adam Rishon? Achas, Hashem takes from him, as the pasuk says, his side. And it said now he has a wife which is like has more benefit. It's like a maidservant that's able to serve him. So Hashem stole one thing but gave him back something that's much better. So he said to her, yeah, but I still have a question on what Hashem did. This is what I was asking. Ella, if so, lishkale behedya. Why does the Eibishter have to do this when Adam Rishon is asleep and he doesn't do it with his awareness? He should take it openly and directly if he's giving back a wife. Amrale, so she says to her father, Aisili umtze de bisra, bring me a piece of meat, a raw piece of meat that I want to prepare to eat. Aisila, he brought her. So what did she do? She prepared this to eat. Aisva tusi bachsha. She put it under the coals to prepare it, to roast it, to cook it. And then Apikta, and she took out the meat. And Amrale, she said to her father, Achel, eat from what I prepared for you. Mehai, from this piece of meat here. Amar Allah, he says to her, Me'isili, it's disgusting for me. I don't want to eat from this. Because some people don't belong in the kitchen to see the raw meat and exactly how it's prepared. And when they see this, they don't want to eat the food. So he saw the raw meat, and then because of that, he wasn't interested in eating it. Amralei, so she says to him, now you understand why the Eibishter did this. By Adam Rishon as well. If Hashem would take his side and give him chava openly, that he would see it would be disgusting for him. So the Eibishter did it in a way that he should then see only the final result, the beautiful wife that he has, but not the process of how the Eibishter makes this surgery. Another conversation. So the heretic says to Rabbi Gamliel, Yadaina my covet. I know Yeibishter what he's doing and Ve'echen Yosef and where he sits. So Isnagid ve'isnach. Rabbi Gamliel moaned and groaned and fainted. Amalei. So the Kaifer asks Rabbi Gamliel, "My hi, what's going on? What's bothering you?" Amalei. So he says to him, "Ben echad yeshli b'krachei hayam. I have a son that's somewhere overseas. V'yeshli gaguim olav, and I'm longing for him. And beina demachvas li nahali. I want you to show me where he is. I want to see my son." Amar, so he says, you're asking me where your son is. How can I help you? How do I know where your son is? Amalei, so Rabbi Gamliel says to him, I'm asking you about my son that's here in this world. You don't know where he is. You know where the Eibishter sits. Another conversation, the pasuk says, the Eibishter counts the number of the stars. So he said, what's the big deal? I could also count the amount of stars. I see chavushi. So what did Rabbi Gamliel do? He brought chavushi, which is quinces. Shadinu bar bila. He threw it into a sieve. And he was spinning the sieve around with these quinces inside. And Amalei, and he says now to the kaifer, Maninu, tell me while it's spinning, how many quinces are there in the sieve here? Amalei, so he says to Rabbi Gamliel, Kaminu, stop it from spinning so I can count it. So Hamalei, so now he said to him, Rekia Nami, the heavens as well, all the Galgalim. So Hachi Hadra, they also are going constantly in motion, going around. And you're telling me that you're able to count while it's all in motion if you can't even count these quinces that are here in the sieve while it's in motion. Ikadamri, others say, Hachi Amalei, this is what the heretic said to Rabbi Gamliel. Manali Kaichvi, that I already counted the stars. I can tell you the number of the stars. So Amalei, Rabbi Gamliel tells him, Emily Kochech Vishinech Kama Have. How many molars and teeth do you have in your mouth? So he put his hands into his mouth and he's trying to count and figuring out how many teeth he has. Amalei, so Rabbi Gamliel tells him, how many teeth you have in your mouth you don't even know. How many stars there are in heaven that you do know. Amalei Kaifel Rabbi Gamliel, the heretic said to Rabbi Gamliel, Misha bara harim le bara ruach, the one that created the mountains did not create the wind. Shanam, because in the pasuk it uses a different expression. Kihine yaitzer harim u bayre ruach. So yaitzer is one source, and bayre, another expression, is a different source. So elameato, if so, Rabbi Gamliel asked them, Gabe Adam, by the human being, the chsiv vayivra, it uses the term also once vayivra, and then it also says vayitzer. So hachanami, are you going to say misha barazeh barazeh? The one that created this did not create this. Are you going to say that in a human being there's different parts of him, that one was created vayivra and one vayitzer? And so you can't say that. Tefach al tefach yesh by badam. There's one area in the head of the person where it's within the same tefach. There are two openings in the person's head, and that's the ears and the eyes, as the Gemara here is going to bring. And it says two different expressions. Are you going to say Misha Barazele Barazeh, the one that created the ears did not create the eyes? But the pasuk uses two expressions. Hanaita ay oizen alay yishma. The Eibusha that planted the ears in the person, so he hears. Vim yaitzer ayin. If he creates the eye, alay yabet, he sees. So it uses hanaita for the oizen and yaitzer for the ayin. Are you going to say the one that creates the ears in the person is not the one that creates the eyes? The two expressions is from the same source, the same Eibishter. Amalayin, but this heretic argued back and said, yeah, maybe that's the case. It's two different sources. Amalei, so Rabbi Gamliel asked them, Ubishas Misa, and when a person dies, Kulan is Paisu, so both sources that create and give life to the person, they all decide at the same time that the person should die. The fact that you see that the life of the person in all aspects of who he is he dies at the same time, that means that it all is from one source that's giving him life, and that's why when the person dies, it's all at once. So that means that it's all from one source of the Eibusha that gives him life every moment. And Amgusha, which is a sorcerer, said to Amema, the top part of your existence is created by Hormiz, which is a name of a Shin Dalet. And the bottom half of your existence, the Ahormis, that comes from Ahormis, which is an expression that goes on the Eibishter. So your existence, one half of you comes from a Shindala, the other half is from the Eibishter. Amalei, so Amema said to him, Imkain, if that's the case, Heichi Shavik le Ahormis, lo Hormis, la Budamai Bare. So then how does the Ahormis allow the water, person eats and drinks, and then he has to relieve himself, and that's in the bottom half of his body. But how does the bottom half, which is created by Ahormis, by the Eibishter, allow what's in the top part of the body that belongs to Hormis, to the Shindala, to pass through the water that has to be relieved by a person? How does it allow it in his territory? So it must be that it's all created from one Eibishter. The Caesar said to Rav Tanchum, let's all be one nation. Let's join, the Yidden should come and join us and be like us, assimilate. So Rav Tanchum said, L'chaya, a very good idea. Anan, but here's the thing, Anan de Ma'alinon, since we already are circumcised, so we can't change and be like you. But Atamalisu, so how about you make a bris, and then you will be like us. So instead of us assimilating with you and joining you, the only way that it's possible is the other way around. Amalei, so the Caesar said to him, what you're saying is right, and you are victorious over what I'm telling you. But Miyo called the Zachil Malka, anybody that wins the king, and he embarrasses the king this way. So his punishment is that he has to be thrown into the enclosure where the wild animals are. So Shadul beaver, they threw up Tanchem into this beaver, into this enclosure of the animals. And the animals did not touch him, they didn't eat him. So there was this heretic there, and he said to the Caesar, the only reason why they didn't go and eat him is because they're not hungry. So because they're not hungry. So what did they do? They threw this heretic into the place, into the enclosure of the animals, and the animals attacked him and ate him up. This is like we learned before in the Gemara, that a person that has the Tzelem Alakim of the Eibush on him, so then the Nimshal Kebehemis Nidmu, the Gemara learned out, and then the animals do not touch him. The heretic said to Rab Gamliel, you say, that the Shechina dwells amongst 10 people. When you have a minion, so then the Shechina is present. So if so, how many levels different? You have different existence of Shechina. For every minion, there's another Shechina. Karya l'shamei, so Rabbi Gamliel called his servant of this kaifer of the Caesar, and machabe ba paske, and he hit him on his neck, and amalei, and he tells him, amai al shimshe bevesa. Why is there sunlight in the house where you are, in the house of your Caesar, in the house where you are? The base of the kaifer, in the house of the kaifer, or really, as I mentioned, the kaifer is the Caesar. Why is the sun in his house? Amalei, so he says to him, Shimsha kulal meniche. The sun that's in your house, it's not the sun that's shining in my house. It's not a sun that's in my house and the sun that's in someone else's house. It's all one sun. It's the same sun that shines, and the light of the sun reaches in every place. So if so, Rabbi Gamliel explained, Humash Shimshu dechad min elef alfei riboy shamshi the kamikutchu berichu. So it's a tiny level of the shine of what the Eibishter really is, much greater than this. But nevertheless, nichelu kula alme, it shines in the entire world. So Shchinte, the Kutchu Berichu, Alachas Kama V'Kama, definitely the Shchina, the Eibishter, which is so much greater, and he shines and he's here. It's one Shchina, it's one Eibishter, but he shines and he's present on the level of every minion that there is. Okay, the Alter Rebbe brings this piece of Gemara, the Alter Rebbe quotes in Tanya, in the end of Perek Lamed Hey. The Alter Rebbe doesn't really explain there, but the Alter Rebbe brings this Gemara in the end of Perek Lamed Hey, that it's one Eibishter. When the Eibishter comes down into this world, even when the Eibishter comes down, not only when the Eibishter is shining in an unlimited way, even when he comes down on a level of Shechina, which refers to Gvul, limited in the world, in every place on its level, but even the Gvul, where the Eibishter is not disconnected from the source, from the Bli Gvul. This is connected to the Maimon of Basilagani that we're learning, that it's really all connected to the Eibishter. This heretic said to Rabavo, your Eibishter, he's making a joke out of the prophets that he speaks to them. Because he said to Yecheskel, lie on your left side. And then another pasuk it says, the Eibishter tells him, you should lie on your right side. Why is he telling him to be like this and then like that? What's this all about? Also, I'll tell me that at that same time when he was having this conversation with this heretic, a student came and Amalei and asked Rabavo, my time at the Shviyasa. What's the explanation for the mitzvah of Shemitah? Amalei, so Rabavo said, I'll answer both of the questions, the student's question and the heretic's question. So first he answered the student's question, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. The Eibishter tells Yidden, Zaru Sheish, you plant the field for 6 years, Ve'ishmitu Sheva, and then in the 7th year you leave it empty. Kedei sheteidu, in order that you should know, She'aretz Shalihi, that the land belongs to me. That's the reason for Shemitah. Now he went on to explain the answer of the heretic. The Yidden didn't follow, they didn't do this. They sinned, Vigolu, and they went into exile. Now, in the behavior in this world, we see Melech Basavadam, a king of flesh of blood, Shasar Chalav Medina, that the country sinned. So Imach Zarihu, if he's a cruel king, Hoyrig is Kulan, he kills them all. Im Rachmanhu, if he has mercy, Hoyrig Chetzion, so he only kills half of them. Im Rachman, Mali Rachmanhu, if he has a lot of compassion, he's full of compassion, then Miyaser Agadalim Shebehan be Yisurin. So then the great one amongst them, they get the afflicted, they get the punishment representing everyone else. Afkach, the same thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu miyaser as Yecheskel. The Eibishter is bringing pain and affliction upon Yecheskel. Kedei lemarek of an Eseim shel Yisrael. The tzaddikim, the pain that they suffer is for the sake of the atonement of the rest of Klal Yisrael, to cleanse the Averis of the Yidden. So here as well, the Eibishter tells him, lie on your right, lie on your left. This is the suffering that Yecheskel experienced in order to atone for the Averis of the Yidden. Another thing the heretic said to Rabavo. Elekechem kayenu. Your God is a kayin. D'chsiv v'yikchu li truma. That you should take truma for me, which means that when you give the donations for the Mishkan, it says truma because they were giving to the Eibusha. That's a kayin. So if so, kikavrei la Moshe, when he buried Moshe, b'may tovel. How did the Eibusha tovel in order to cleanse himself from the tumah? If you'll say Hashem tavels in water as well, but Vaksiv it says, Mi modad b'shali mayim, who in his fist could measure the amount of water that's needed for Hashem? So how does the Eibusha tavel? Amalei benura. So he says the Eibusha doesn't tavel in water, he tavels in fire. Benura tavel, that is. The Chsiv, the Pasuk says, Ki hine Hashem be'eish yavai, the Eibusha comes in fire. So he asked him, Mi salkit filusa benura? Could you tavel in fire? You're supposed to tavel in water to cleanse yourself, not in fire. Amalei, so Rabbi answered him, Adarab, on the contrary, ikit filusa benurahu. The main way to tavel is really in fire. The chsiv, whatever does not go into the fire, taviru b'mayim, that you put into the water. But really the main tefillah is in fire. So Rashi explains that obviously this pasuk is not speaking about the union of tefillah here. It's talking about hagolas kelim. When a keli that from a guy, when you want to take out the treif and the tumah that's in it, that's what the pasuk is talking about. It's not talking about the union of tefillah b'chlal. He's answering this heretic according to the question that he asked, but really the answer is the Eibusha doesn't need any tefillah because the Eibusha does not become tamei, and the reason is that when you ask the question, how could the Eibusha bury Moshe Rabbeinu? The answer is because even a kayin is allowed to become tamei to a relative, and since it says about Yidden that banim atem l'Hashem lekeichem, Yidden abanim la'mokim, so the Eibusha is allowed to become tamei to Moshe Rabbeinu, to bury him. That's what Taisus over here explains. There's a sikha from the Rebbe, Barichas, about this, in Chelik Zayin, Parshas Emor, and the point there that the Rebbe asks is, but it says about the Eibusha that he's a Kohen Gadol, not just a Kohen. So a Kohen is allowed to become Tomei to a child, but not a Kohen Gadol. So how does the Eibusha, the question still remains, how does the Eibusha become Tomei to bury Moshe Rabbeinu? The Rebbe there explains that the union of Tumah is bemis not shaykh lamayla. When we say that the Eibusha is a Kohen Gadol, it only means in the positive sense, that by the Eibusha there's more Kedusha than what is expressed in the regular inyan of a kain, but not benegated the inyan of tumah. It's not shaykh b'chlal the inyan of tumah l'mayla, and therefore there's no question here b'chlal about the tefillah. Zarichas over there in the sikha about this anyway. That's in a kodah. The heretic said to Rabbi Vin, the pasuk says, who is like the Yidden, the one nation in the land? So he said to him, My Rabbi Sayu, what's the big deal about what Yidden are special? You're also mixed and you're together with us. There's another pasuk where it says, Kol HaGoyim, all nations, which includes Yidden seemingly, are like nothing by the Eibusher. Amalei, so he answered him, Miditchu, from the prophet that came from you, which is Bilam, Asidu Alam, he testified about us. The pasuk says, Uvagoyim lo yischashov, that together with all nations, Yidden are not counted. So when it says over here in the pasuk that Kol, all Goyim, the Kol does not include Yidden. Kol HaGoyim is Yidden are not counted together with them. Rabbi Lazar Rami, another thing about this point that Yidden are different than Goyim. Rabbi Lazar asked the contradiction. Ksiv, in one pasuk it says, Tov Hashem l'koil. Hashem is good, the goodness of Hashem is for everyone. Ksiv, in another pasuk it says, Tov Hashem l'koivav. The goodness of Hashem is only for those that hope to Him. So it's a contradiction. So he answered him, Mashal Adam, or Rabbi Lazar explained that is, Mashal Adam sheyesh lepardis, the analogy of a person that has a orchard, kishahu mashke, when he's giving to water, watering it all. So mashke is kulay. He gives water and the water goes everywhere. Because it's not an extra effort that the water should be for everything. So therefore the water is for everything. But kishahu oider. Then when he has to give the attention to each one of the trees separately and he has to prune, so then the attention is given only to the good ones within them. So the special attention that the Eibusha gives is only for those that are kaiva, those that hope to Him. The Gemara brings now, going back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, this is what the Bezdin would tell to the Eidim that are testifying about Din and Nefashis, and the conclusion of what they tell the Eidim are, if you don't want to say the Eidim because you're afraid of what's going to happen to you, so the Mishnah concludes and says, no, that if the person that you're testifying about is truly a Rasha, you should testify about him, and even if he'll die, it's a positive thing, because ba'avoid rishayim rino, when a Rasha is eliminated, it's a reason for song, it's a reason for the Eibusha to be happy about this. So the Gemara brings vayaver harino b'machne, and the song was in the camps. What is this referring to? It says harino, this song. What was that? Amar Rab Acha bar Chanina ba'avoid rishayim rino means ba'avoid Achav ben Omri rino. That when Achav ben Omri, which was a king by the Yidden, but he was a big Rasha, and the Yidden were waiting, when is he going to be eliminated? And finally he went out to a battle, and he was killed. That's the harina that the Yidden were waiting for, that he should be killed, and the Yidden were singing, the Yidden were happy. The Gemara asks about this. Could you say that Hashem, there's a rina, that the Eibishter is happy and he sings with the downfall of the Rishayim? But Vaksiv, there's a pasuk that says, that the Eibishter goes out in front of the army that's fighting, and they sing to Hashem, Haidul Hashem, we sing to Hashem, that his kindness is great and forever. Rabbi Yonasan said about this pasuk, here it doesn't say like in Hallel, it doesn't say Haidul Hashem ki tov, it just says they sing to Hashem for his chesed. Why here doesn't it say ki tov? Because the Eibishter is not happy with the downfall of the Rishayim, so therefore it does not say the ki tov. And this is also another thing that we see, the Omar of Omar Rab Shmuel Bar Nachman Omar Rab Yonasan Ma'idich Siv. What is it when it says when the Yidden were going out of Mitzrayim and they were coming to the Yam Suf? So it says V'leikarav zeh al zeh kol halayla, that they didn't come close one to another the entire night, which simply means that the Mitzrayim did not reach the Yidden the entire night. So the Gemara explains that what it refers to is that Bais Shah at that time by Kriyas Yam Suf, Bikshu Malachi Asharis Loima Shira Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Malachim wanted to sing in front of Hashem for the downfall of the Mitzrayim that are sinking in the Yam Suf. Amalana HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibishter says to the Eibishter says to the Malachim, Ma'aseh Yadi Tovim B'Yam. My creations are drowning in the water. Shira, and you want to sing for this? Lefana in front of me. So this is the Taitra here when it says like Karav Zel Zeh Kol Halayla, it refers to the Malachim, because by the Malachim it says Zeh El Zeh, that they say Shira one across another. So over here they could not sing one across another to the Eibishter. That's what the pasuk here is hinting to. So here we see that the Malachim couldn't sing Shira. There's no Rino, there's no song by the Eibishter, even by the downfall of Rishayim. But before we said Ba'avoid Rishayim Rino regarding when Achav was killed. So Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina said, Hu ein esas. He is not happy. Aval acherim mesis. But others, they could be happy. Yes, they cannot be. As we see the Chsiv, the pasuk says Yosis. This is actually a pasuk where it speaks about in the Teicheche, where it speaks about the enemies of the Yidden that will cause Yidden trouble. And over there it says that the Eibishter will make others happy, will make your enemies happy with your downfall. So it says Yosis, the Eibishter makes them happy. V'leiksiv Yosos, it doesn't say that he's happy. So Shema Minah, from here we see that, but not that the Eibishter himself is happy. So the same thing also when we speak about the downfall of the Rishayim. So for the Eibishter himself, there's no song, and therefore the Malachim can't sing in front of Hashem when by Kriyas Yam Suf. But for the others, that the Yidden should be happy, that the Yidden should sing about this, that yes. Now going on to a pasuk, this is referring back to the downfall or the death of Achav, which was a king by Yidden that was a big Rasha. So the pasuk says, "Va'zaynis rachatzu v'gaimer," and the Zaynis, the harlots, they're washing in water. What is this referring to over there? So Amar Rabbi Lazar said, "Lamarek shtei chezyainis." Instead of reading it v'hazaynis, you read it chezyainis. There were two visions that the Nevi'im said about Achav's death. And now when he died, so this actually was memarik. This clarified and opened up the fulfillment of the two nevuas of the Nevi'im. What are these two nevuas? Achas shel Michyo, one was from Michyo that prophesied about this, v'achas shel Eliyahu. The other is what Eliyahu prophesied. But Michyo, regarding Michyo, it said that when Achav went out to battle, so Michyo said, if you're going to come back in peace, like Dibra Hashem be, Hashem did not speak to him. In other words, he was prophesying that he's going to die in battle, and therefore now when he died, his chizayin, his vision was fulfilled. And Eliyahu it says, in the place where the dogs came to eat the blood of Novais, which was a person that Achav killed, in the same place, the dog's going to come and eat your blood and you're going to be killed as well. So this is the vision and the prophecy of Eliyahu that was fulfilled. Rava translates when it says here by Achav, Zaynis Rachatzu, Zaynis Mamish, it means literally a Zayna, Zaynis. What's the reason for this? Because Achav ish mitzunin hoya. Achav was a cold person. He wasn't interested even in marital relations with his wife. So what did she do? His wife Izel, what did she do for him? She prepared shteit surais zaynais b'merkaftai in his chariot. She made two forms of zaynais kadei sheyira isam v'yischamim, so that he should see it and he should be warmed up to her. And therefore, when he was killed in his chariot, there were these images of these two zaynais that his blood was over it, that were washed over from his death. V'ish moshach v'keshes l'tumay, when he was killed, the pasuk says that a person pulled the arrow, and the arrow that killed Achav, so it says l'tumay. What is v'yaka? And this hit him and killed him. What does the word l'tumay here mean? Rabbi Elazar says l'fi tumay. The person that killed him was doing it innocently, meaning he didn't even realize that his arrow was hitting the king Achav and killing him. Rav says that l'tumay refers to the point that we spoke about before. L'tamim shtei chazyanis. This is in order to fulfill the two visions of the two Nevi'im, Achas Shemachyav, Achas the Nevuah of Mechyav and Eliyahu. Simin Kara V'Zaka Be'Edom. And this is referring to Achav, and that the Gemara quoted before. So Ksiv, by Achav it says, Vayikra Achav al Avadyo, Asher ala Bayis. Achav calls Avadyo, which was living in the house of Achav, and he was the manager in the kingdom of Achav, and he calls Avadyo. And Avadyo was a Navi, and it was a big tzaddik. And he tells him, and now the pasuk goes on to say there, Vayivadye ha'yirei Hashem ma'oid. Avadye had fear of Hashem to a great level. So my kamakro, what's the pasuk saying? It begins to say that Avadye Achav called him, and then it says that he was yirei Hashem. What's the connection here? Rabbi Yitzchak. So Rabbi Yitzchak said, Amalei Achav summoned Avadye, and he said to him, B'Yaakov ksiv. By Yaakov it says, when Yaakov was in the house of Lavan. So Lavan says, Nichashti, I sensed that Vayivercheini Hashem beglalech. Hashem benches me because of you. The bracha that I have is all because of you, because Yaakov was with him. B'Yosef ksiv. Also by Yosef it says, Vayivarech Hashem is based on Mitzri beglal Yosef. That Potiphar realized that the bracha that he has in his house was all because of Yosef that was in his house. However, now Achav says, Beisadahu Gavra, the house of that individual, referring to himself, Lo have a mivrich, is not being blessed because you, Avadya, is with me. Maybe truly you're not God-fearing, and therefore I don't get any bracha because of your presence in my house. Therefore, the pasuk goes on to say that Yatza Baska v'Amra, a Baska, a heavenly voice came out and announced, Vayivadya ha yirei Hashem ha'id. Avadya is a yirei Hashem. However, Achav being this Rasha, he's not able to take in this blessing in his house. Now, Rabba says about this expression that it says about the level of Ivadye, Godel, Shenema by Ivadyo, the expression of the fear of Hashem that Ivadye had is greater Mima Shenema Bavram, from what it says by Avram. Because the Ilu Bavram, like Siv Ma'id, by Avram it doesn't say that his fear of Hashem was Ma'id. It says Yirei Lekimata. But Bevadi Ksiv Ma'id, it adds the word Ma'id even on a higher level. Rabbi Yitzchak said that Mima Zocha Evadyo Nevius. Why did Avadya merit to have Nevius? Avadya was a ger, he came from Edom, and usually by a ger, the Shechina only dwells in someone that's a miyuchis. So how did Avadya have the schus that he had in prophecy? The reason is Shehechbi Meya Neviim B'Mayra, because he saved the prophets, 100 Neviim, he saved them in a cave from Achav, he shouldn't kill them. Shanem, as the pasuk says, Vayihi b'Hachris Izevel as Nevi Hashem. Izevel was killing the Neviim of Hashem. Vayikach Avadyo Meya Neviim. He took 100 Neviim Vayachbiim and he hid them. Chamisha Mish B'Mayra V'Gomer. There were 50 of these Neviim in one cave and 50 in another cave. So the Gemara explains now, why didn't he hide them all together? Why 50 in one and 50 in another cave? Rabbi Elazar says, Miyakiv Lomad. He learned from Yaakov when he was coming with his family, with his children to Esau. Shenem, as it says, he divided in two camps, so if one is attacked, the other one will be saved. Same thing is what he did when he hid the Nevi'im in two caves. Rabbi said, no, the reason was just practically that the cave that he hid them in, there wasn't space for more than 50. The pasuk, the nevuah of Avadye, it begins and it says, Chazayin Avadyo, Koi Amar Hashem Alekim LeEdom V'Gomer. This is what Hashem says for Edom. This is a nevuah to Avadye about the downfall of Edom, which is from Esau, Lasad Lovai. Ma'ishna Avadye LeEdom. What's the reason why Avadye is the one that prophesies about the downfall of Edom? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibusha says, Yavai Avadyo, let Avadyo come. Hadar ben Shnei Rishayim, that is, and he lived in the house of Achav between the two Rishayim, Achav and his wife Izevel, and V'leilamad b'Masayim, and still he didn't learn from their actions. V'yanove, and let him say prophecy al Esav Arasha regarding the descendants of Esav Arasha, Shadar ben Shnei Tzadikim, that lived between the two Tzadikim Yitzchak and Rivka, V'leilamad b'Masayim, and he did not learn from their actions. Another pshat, Omer Ephraim Miksha said, which was Talmidei Shel Rab Meir, he was the student of Rab Meir, Mishum Rav Meir, he said it in the name of Rav Meir, that Avadia ger adoimi hoya. Avadia himself was a ger, and he came from Edom. And v'hainu d'omri inshi, this is the statement that people say, Mineyu bei iba, from the forest itself, you take a piece of wood, nezel bei narga, and you use that wood itself as the handle for the axe that you chop down the trees of the wood of the forest itself. So to here, it's from Edom itself that you take Avadia, and he says the prophecy about their downfall. This is the famous thing that the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya, when you get to the union of atzvus, that sometimes when a person is in a place of depression, you can take the atzvus itself and turn it into meridus and utilize it to realize how far you are from Hashem, and that itself will bring you to tshuva, and that will bring you to even greater simcha. And the same thing over here when you get to the downfall of Edom, that you take Edom itself, and from within, you bring their downfall. This is a pasuk that says by David HaMelech when he was fighting his battles against Moav. Now David HaMelech came from Rus, that was from Moav, and it says that he hit Moav and he measured them and he put them down on the ground. About this as well, when David that came from Moav and he was able to fight them, this is what people say, you take the wood from the forest itself, and you use it as a handle to chop down the trees of the wood itself, or the trees of the forest itself. When Abdimi came, Omar, he said, the thigh of a person, from within the thigh itself, the thickness of the flesh, that's where when the body decomposes, it starts from within the flesh of the body itself. Also another example for this concept. Okay, here there's another pasuk, because we just mentioned about David HaMelech fighting the king of Moav, so it brings up one of the kings of Moav. And this was a king, his name I think of this king over here was Misha, I think. Yeah, so it says Vayikach is Benoya B'choyer Ashiyimlech Tachtov. He brought his son, the B'choyer. He would be a king instead of him. Vayaleu Oyla Ala Chayme, and he sacrificed him on the top of a wall. So what did he do over here? Rav Shmuel, there's an argument about Rav Shmuel, what the king of Moav was doing. Chadoma one says L'Shem Shemayim. He sacrificed him for Hashem. Did it for the sake of Hashem. The Chadoma L'Shem Avodah Zarah. The other said no, what he did was done for Avodah Zarah. So the Gemara explains, the one that says that he did it for the sake of Hashem. This is the reason why the pasuk there later goes on and says, that this aroused the great anger of Hashem upon Yidden. Why? Because when you see here what this king of Moav was ready to do, and the Yidden are not dedicating themselves to Hashem to this extent, so therefore this aroused the anger of Hashem upon Yidden. So but what he did is for Avodah Zarah. So how in what way did this arouse the anger of Hashem over Yidden? So the Gemara explains, could Rabbi Shua ben Levi, could it be understood based on what Rabbi Shua ben Levi said, that Rabbi Shua ben Levi Rami. Rabbi Shua ben Levi asked about a contradiction in the Psukim. Ksiv, in one pasuk it says, like the Goyim that you are around you, you have not followed their ways. In another pasuk it says that you are doing and acting like the Goyim that are around you. So what are these two psukim talking about that seem to be a contradiction? So the answer is the Eibishter is complaining about the Yidden like the Goyim that live around you that behave well. You're not following their ways. Like the Goyim that are around you that behave not in the proper way, like them, that's who you are acting like. So the same thing over here, the Eibishter was angry with the Yidden because when this king of Moav, Misha, this king, he sacrificed his son for Avodah Zarah, so the Yidden were doing the same thing at the same time. So when the Eibishter saw the Avodah Zarah that he served, it reminded the Eibishter of the Yidden's behavior, and therefore this brought the anger of Hashem on Yidden. They traveled from him and they came back to the land. This is a pasuk that it says over there by this king of Moav that the Yidden, they were fighting him, and they came back to the land. It doesn't say that Yidden came back to their land in Eretz Yisrael. It says La'oretz. It should have said they came back to their land. Why does it say La'oretz? Because it means that at that time Yidden came back. Yardu Rishayin Shal Yisrael Madrega Tachtaina. The wicked one amongst Yidden, it refers to the Yidden, they went down La'oretz. Oretz means a low place. They had a big downfall. They went down to a very low place, and the Yidden then were punished for their behavior. I heard the Gemara finishes off with a pasuk that's connected to an expression of a pasuk that it brought before by Avadia. By Avadio, it says Yarei Hashem Ma'oid, that he was very fearful from Hashem. That word Ma'oid. So here the pasuk the Gemara brings a pasuk that it says by Avishag Shunamis. It says V'hanara Yafa Ad Ma'oid, and the maiden was very beautiful. Rab Chanina bar Papa says Adayin lo higia lachatzi yofi shel Sara. She didn't come to even half of the beauty of Sarah, because the chsiv ad ma'id, that she was only very beautiful up to the level of ma'id, but v'loy ma'id b'chlal, but not ma'id. By Sarah, the pasuk says ki yafa hi ma'id, that she was very beautiful. Hadron Allah dinei mamanis, echad dinei mamanis. We shall return to you the fourth Perek of Masechtas Sanhedrin, echad dinei mamanis.